So if things go wrong, should I give one hoot with a one-man girl who is oh so cute, in a one-room flat, in a two-pants suit, and 3 square meals a day?
fuss about you, but how about me? It's over, all over, and soon somebody else will tell his friends about you, but how about me? You'll find somebody new, but what am I to do? I'll still remember you when you have forgotten. And maybe a little baby will climb upon your knee and put his arms about you, but how about me?
Alright, we're at
Actually, if you open it up, it's an old shaft or an elevator shaft. Yeah. You guys ready? Oh, yeah.
This conference will now.
Sure, it's all fresh in your minds.
I move that we approve the meeting, the minutes from July 15th, whatever it was.
Sorry. Alright, I will abstain, but all those in favor?
I
Okay.
So what's the
Is
number on that?
4 and 1 abstain.
you
I wasn't there.
You weren't
so,
there.
Yep. Okay, public comment time. We have somebody online. If they have something they'd like to say, then now is the time. Otherwise, we'll be closed for public comment.
Nope, okay, somebody else.
Okay, somebody else joined. It is public comment time, if they need to. 3, 2, 1. Cut right through that. Education training reports from community members. Anybody do any training or anything like that for the last 2 months? No? Great, let's get right through it.
I did attend the Boy and Girl Club meeting last night. That was kind of fun.
All right.
Probably has nothing to do with this committee.
No, let's just walk through it. Like you said earlier, we have a lot of items on the agenda today, so we're just going to rush through some of these. Okay, open committee seats. So we have 2 open seats. Actually, this happened during the gap. We lost a member. They formally resigned. Not a problem. It happens. So we're down 2 seats. Like I said, we're looking to fill those. The town is doing its regular thing where they're putting stuff in the Sentinel. We've given them. Kate and I updated the text so that it's a little more. I'd say it's a little more open to like anybody, explaining that like we'll take anybody who's looking, does social or whatever, knows about communication within their regular jobs and stuff like that, but also puts in a statement about AI and anybody who is, has a daily working knowledge of it or, we put it in a way that was sort of like, you don't have to be an expert, but like if you use it, then that's helpful, right? And then great. So if anybody has any ideas for other things that we could do, other
It's
than
going to be word
social
of mouth.
media,
You're gonna have to corral somebody.
yeah, but it's out there. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say about it. Is that if anybody can think of anything new, let us know. We'll try to get that out there. So.
And last week, that article Kate wrote was in the Sentinel too.
Yeah.
And it was mentioned in there, we're looking for more bodies, so. I checked with Melissa yesterday and, nobody's put in.
Yeah, my understanding is there's not a lot of volunteers right now for any committee work. So, really, any ideas for any committee as well as ours would be excellent. The town will use it. Okay, on to the bigger topic of the night, or one of the few bigger topics: AI in Belchertown government. I think there's different groups that are working on different things, and I think we should start with just getting a generic report on just where we're at, and then I'll let you
Okay,
and go from there. So
I'm gonna say, many months ago, Allegra and I had a meeting with Steve, and we talked about what he was after, and that he was working on a policy, and the policy came out, and we've all had a chance to look at it. The news is not good on AI. Is it Reuters who set up 3 different AI chat boxes to come up with a scam to take money away from seniors, and was able to cajole the bot into doing it. So it's a dangerous thing and needs to be really looked at, I think, if you're going to be using it.
I disagree with you.
I know you do.
Yeah, I disagree.
Well, I mean,
And I want to put that on record too, that every tool is going to have its downside and its plus side. There's no two ways about it.
And you need to be careful with every tool. And
Absolutely.
that's what I'm suggesting, is that
Okay.
this is not something that you can just use without thought.
well, I would suggest that nobody within the town staff look for ways to
No, I'm just saying.
scam
Yeah.
the elderly.
And I'm not suggesting that they would, but what I'm suggesting is this is a tool that is manipulable and is dependent on the libraries it was given and dependent on the bias of the programmer. And so you need to be aware of these things when you go out and start hunting for these programs.
But I mean, the reality of it, it's here, it's going to be used.
Oh,
We
yeah.
can figure out the safe way for it to be used. I mean, the best analogy I've got is a friend of mine from the fire department once said, we get in accidents going to calls in emergency vehicles. That doesn't mean we stop going, you know? And with AI, it's a reality, and we have to figure out how to best use it.
And I'm not suggesting that we don't use it. I'm suggesting we need real safety rails.
And I would disagree with you on that.
So do you want to bring up some of the other things that Steve alluded to?
Let's see here. He indicated that his emphasis right now is using it as a research tool and not using it to particularly generate literature. I'll just say that. One of the things I did read is that the Mass Higher Ed Board came up with some guidelines for how to use AI. And I like what they did is they wrote them first and then asked AI to clean it up the language. In other words, the humans did the work before the AI ever got its hand on it. And I thought that was a lovely approach. And I think that might be something missing from the guidelines that Steve has put out, that maybe we should encourage people to come up with original thought and then let AI use it as a way to clean up their language. What else did Steve say here? Competence of the human beings must match those of the AI. It still has to be, everything still has to be fact checked by a human being. And so the question that always comes into my brain is, AI writes it, and for me to fact check all the sources it used might be more time consuming than the fact that I might have written it myself to begin with. Transparency, you have to let people know that you're using it or it was a major source for what you're doing. A minimal disclosure statement. And yeah, that's pretty much it right now. Allegra, is that about it?
Yeah, I think so. I was looking back at my notes. It was a while ago. We had that conversation with them. And it was after that meeting that we then got the town council AI draft. Which I don't know if everybody had time to look at it. I was just looking back at my notes on that. I thought it was pretty strong. I had a few small points on it, but I actually wasn't sure who to send those to. I mean, I guess we discussed them here. They were minor things. I don't know if you guys have the drafts.
I don't know with me. Well, actually, I can look it up quick. I had some notes as well, and I ended up just forwarding them along to Steve.
Okay.
And just making sure to edit the same thing. Because, yeah, I found it was rather well written, minus the fact that it sort of grouped all AI into one sort of definition, and it really isn't that. And I don't think they took, sort of like the same way that we wrote the social guidelines. and didn't exactly take what the library was doing into account. I think they did the same thing without taking into account like what the police department is using it for, or the fire department is using it for. Because there was something about like, no videos whatsoever should be like put through or like, manipulated through AI or created with AI, but like technically the police department is running their videos through to automatically remove like license plate numbers and stuff like that. Right? And it's like that's
audio. I mean,
right, and it's like technically, it's like the same thing. It's process, and there's no definition of like, or there's no clear line in my mind when I read it of like, what is the simple processing AI? What is like the basic BCTV police department use of AI versus like, videos completely made that are fake with AI that like you put in a prompt and it makes like a 5-minute video or something, right? That is totally fake. They don't put a clear definition there.
So I was assuming Steve's guidelines were more for the administrative side of town hall, and the police department and or the fire department may have to have their own guidelines.
but to that end too, like you couldn't say that these guidelines would work for the library or for like stuff that Esther and I do that creatively uses these AI tools. Like you can't even like get away from them. They're like so embedded in the software that we use. But they're still
my comment on that was that these should be the minimum standards townwide, and that there may be other departments like library, fire, police that go beyond, for special situations. That was a comment that I put in here too. And I agree with Chris. I wasn't that impressed with this, to be quite honest with you. To me, it showed a lack of understanding of AI. That when they wrote this, they didn't understand all the different. They didn't include anything on large language, natural language. They just went generative AI, and that was it. And that's far too restrictive because there's other types of AI that everybody's going to be using. So I felt that it needed to be expanded. That was the notes I made in here that I gave back to Steve on it. Was this needed to be more comprehensive and encompass various other forms of AI, that they're going to use, like Honor, for example, something as simple as that. It doesn't address that. That's it.
Well, I mean, in Steve's defense, his focus is on the generative AI.
Right, which is too restrictive for what we need, because, again, he's asking us to come up with a task of how we're going to use AI. Well, if council's going to give us those guardrails, it needs to be more encompassing than this one document.
It would also seem to indicate that we as a committee need to talk to the police department and to the fire department and to BCTV and find out what their needs and wants are. And see.
I already did. I talked to fire PD about what they're doing.
Okay.
So, for example, fire is using it more than PD. PD is using it just for their body cam, for the editing that Chris mentioned on that. Fire is using it for, I got notes about to remember, stuff like writing procedures, writing policies, things like that. It's helping them. They used to pay like $9,000 to a firm to write SOPs. They're using it to do it in-house now. Obviously a lot less than $9,000. And they're able to guide it more efficiently too in doing that. They're using it to write reports. And when he first said that, a red flag went up. But what he mean, I thought he meant like history reports and stuff like that, which would contain confidential. No, what he's doing is like what Chris did for the annual report, stuff like that. That's what he's using it for, to help them write that sort of stuff.
Do they tell you what safeguards they're using and their use of video?
Such as?
Well, you were saying that they were writing the annual report, so he reviews the annual report and says, yes, this is correct, before he signs off on it.
Didn't ask, but that's one of the things in the policy that a point of it is the last set of eyes should be given, honestly.
Yeah.
No matter what,
Right, but that was not a question asked, I guess, at that time. Okay.
I talked to Cindy over at the library about it, and we were just having a conversation, so I brought it up. And her reaction to Steve's memo that he had put out that we authored for him was about the use of AI in the interim townwide. But she felt that she was being told, no, I can't use it at all. It's like, no, that wasn't what it's about. you can use it, but there are going to be certain restrictions on it, and you have to be careful. Because what she was doing, and this is what I use it for too, is when you're writing grant applications, one of the biggest struggles is it'll say you have to have 500 words in this part of the grant application. And so that's what I'll do is I'll write something out. Then I'll say to AI, give me this in 500 words, which is great, and so she's using it for things like that.
And it's similar to like what I do, like I'll write something and then I'll be like, take my text and now write a very official press release based on this.
Right.
Or take my text and give it to me for Facebook in so many characters.
Right.
Like you could do those things, but they take an exorbitant amount of time. And if you're giving it all of your information already and asking it to do these steps for you, and then obviously you're reviewing beforehand, once you're done.
Sure.
But it basically can cut the work in half or in thirds, depending on how many different ways you have to say the same thing.
Right. I mean, that's like the blog post I just sent you an hour ago. It was based on an interview I did with Linda, and I just asked it to write a 1,500-word blog post, which it did very nicely. And to me, that's based on input from the interview of Linda and I. That's what it's based on. It's not based on extraneous information, things like that. And it did, to me, a pretty darn good job. I went through, I edited it, I cleaned it up, but the efficiency on that is unquestionable. The time it would have taken me to do the interview and then write it up is quite a bit.
So does anybody know what the next steps are, like with the town council document? Like what happens at that point with that after they get?
We're not sure about the town council document. We haven't heard anything back from Steve on that.
I would assume standard would be that he's happy with it, he would send it to the select board for their approval.
I doubt it's happy with it because there's so much comments.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying that way,
So it sounds like maybe a meeting with Steve would be the next step to review where everybody's at.
So we are, that's another thing to report, is that we are meeting with Steve on the 4th. So we, on our side of things, have gotten in contact with this organization at UMass called PIT, Public Information Technology
Support, we'll just say
Institute, yeah. It's actually more than that.
It's PIT.
Right, but if the true thing is with an extra I word at the end, so I forget the name of it. You can look it up, PIT UMass. So we've been in conversations with the professors there, 3 wonderful women who are very well versed in AI and all of its forms, and they are basically the PIT group at UMass is a program for kids to get a degree that is, I'm going to say this as roughly as possible, that it's basically training people to with a college degree to basically take technology into the public space, into like local governments and things like that, and utilize it and use these things for good. And a lot of the ethics around it, and a lot of the stuff that we're discussing. And we've had 2 meetings with them now where it is a big concern around ethics and everything we've brought up and how to actually go about doing this and what are the next steps. They, as a program, have been around for about 5 years in a theoretical teaching space of it, but they haven't done any actual application.
And here we are.
And we are in this need of application, and so we're actually in conversations with them to work together. They would, we've said it in the meeting, like we're using each other, right? That like they're going to get an actual town to do all this and be able to write about it, and we would be their case study, and we would get all the work.
That's awesome.
Yes, yeah. I set up a lot of it. So
One of their first questions was, "Can we publish this?" Yes, you can publish this because it's a publisher perish sort of thing. So, yes, you can publish this.
So
have you made contact with Steve about this idea?
Yes, we have. We've been in touch with him. It has been impossible to get a hold of him and his calendar lately. But on the 4th, we are meeting with the 3 professors from Pitt, Ed and myself, Steve, and Kevin and IT.
Oh, wow.
So we'll have all the players in the room. We'll discuss what the next steps are. they are very much of the mindset that like AI can be a wonderful tool and does a lot of really crazy, amazing things, but 99% of the time, it's not the answer. So they are very much on your side of things.
Who's that?
They are. That like there's other technology that can be used before AI for a lot of these things, and that like AI it shouldn't be like how do we fit AI into the work we need, but more of what are our pain points and is there a space where AI can fix that, right? So there is a lot of discussion with them where we want to start first by going through the entire town and all the departments and saying like, what are your biggest problems? What is it that is taking forever for you to do? You know, is it reports? Is it emails? Is it the stuff that like sure AI can handle? Or is it other things, you know, and other problems that like maybe some other technology can solve? And you know, because they're not just AI, they're all, you know, technology focused. So it's gonna be, I think it's gonna take a little time because you know, people's schedules, we have to work around their school calendars. They are still teaching professors. You know, getting Steve and Kevin
It'll take a couple of years before it's implemented.
Well, we're hoping to go a little quicker than a couple of years, but at least 2026 before we have like some real stuff put together.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but I mean, I was thinking fully implemented as opposed to little things here and there.
Yeah. So yes, so that's sort of where we're at on our side of things, and I welcome.
Lovely, perfect.
I mean, it's gonna be an education for them, because we could tell from our meetings, they're not really familiar with how small government works. And they're saying, well, what about this and what about that? It's like, we kind of scale things back. We're not a Boston, we're not a Springfield, we're not a Worcester, you know? You don't have these resources.
Do you have any idea what their
hometowns
hometowns are?
So for them, they're getting a little bit of an education
Different
too.
areas.
Sorry.
They're from different areas. You're like, if you're talking hometowns, like I think one's.
Yeah, I was thinking,
I forwarded their webpage to everybody in the group when we were talking. All of their names are on there, so if you wanna like look up to see who all the players are and dig into their LinkedIn profiles,
Yeah.
you got all the info now.
Now, the important thing to remember, and this is highly unusual, we met with them in August. Okay, that's the summer at UMass.
Mhm.
My past experience was you never get a professor during the summer to meet with you, because they're on the 9-month plan, you know? And the fact that we had 3 professors that sat down with us in this meeting and were very interested in what we're doing, because they like to use us as a potential pilot or role model for other small towns. And that's what we specifically brought up too, is like Shrewsbury, Pelham, whatever, they don't have the resources, but they may benefit from what we learn for them. And so we can be a role model or a pilot for other small communities in the state.
get us on the map again.
Yeah. So that's sort of the progress that we've made on our side of things. We'll have more to report on it after the 4th. Once, like I said, Steve is aware. He's interested in what they have to say and what we're gonna do. But they haven't met, so there hasn't been they asked us for can we do this? Can we do that? And it's like, we are a committee of volunteers. You've got to talk to the right people first. So hopefully we get those and everything goes well.
So I was going to just say, Allegra and I were thinking that part of our job was guardrails. Writing a policy with guardrails in it. But Steve's already written a policy, and you're going to be working with these people to come up with a policy. So it sounds like we have been taken out of a job.
No.
I don't want to say that, yeah. And I want to also say that if anybody's
We're not saying
interested,
that in a nasty way, we're just saying it looks like it's being covered.
I want to say if there is anybody interested in this group to go to that, I would say we're probably fine with having extra players in the room and other people who are interested in this. I don't want to say this is an N&I project and nobody else there. Obviously, we can only keep it to 3 or less. For quorum purposes. If you'd like to, sure.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Great. Do you want to go?
No. But yeah, the answer is yes.
I think it does sort of change where we're at. And in fact, the fact that Steve went to council and had them already draft a policy was something that when at the onset of this, we were told the town needed policy, and then the next thing it was,
Yeah.
oh, here's the policy from towns, or the draft
Yeah, I
policy.
know.
So,
That's fine. It's moving.
Yeah, I think when we split up stuff before, it was to make sure people were looking into stuff, and it makes sense that
we're
there's
now.
council policy now, you guys have this project, we'll all be discussing it, so.
Yeah.
I'm happy to not have ongoing other work with AI stuff.
Yeah,
And
it's
just to
sort
be
of,
part of the conversation is great, yeah.
And speaking of the newsletter, okay. No.
yeah.
You can post a meeting and get everybody.
We could actually, yeah, we
If
could.
there's enough interest, I wouldn't cut anybody out, so if there's enough interest, I would.
Yeah, that's true. We could just make it a committee meeting and then just, we just have a
Well,
call to order.
I'm gonna say, you don't want 100,000 players in the
I'd rather, tell you the truth, I'd rather we didn't, because I think people would be a little more open if we're not zooming in.
Yeah.
we're talking the 4th of October, which is a Saturday.
Is it the third, Friday? I'm sorry,
Oh,
it's the
third.
fourth multiple times.
Yeah.
The third, it's that Friday.
Okay.
But John can definitely go, because he doesn't count against quorum.
Right.
So,
And same with you and
same with both of us too, so.
Okay. So I think that's where we're at with all of the AI stuff, unless there's anybody else who has an update. Okay, cool. Creating digital role in committees. This is one that we can perhaps table, or I could just be brief about, is that I think that I don't want to necessarily say interest, but there's more leeway these days of having that idea that either the clerk / historian of the committee transfer into like a new sort of responsibility role, or a new responsibility is created for committees that sort of gives this responsibility of what the committee is doing for their website, for social media, for any of their digital responsibilities, right? We want to have more transparency in all of the different committees that we have, and all the different departments that we have. There's a lot of different stuff that we as a communications committee have, new tools that we've put forward for everyone in town. The newsletter, the website, social media, things like that. And as we strive for content, and as we strive for, again, this idea of transparency, it would be great if every committee had somebody responsible for providing that
So,
and maintaining it.
so I spoke to Steve briefly about this yesterday, I want to say, because in theory, it's a great idea to have like that contact within each committee that can get trained up and appropriately knows how to use the website and social, is trained with making sure everything's ADA compliant.
Mhm.
But like we had said earlier, when we were talking about trying to fill our vacancies, a lot of committees don't have enough people as it is. And there's a little bit of a fear that if this role was to come about, it might make existing committees that are struggling now kind of like, more work, like I can't take on more work, I can't even get enough volunteers as it is.
Right.
So the idea that we had would be to reach out to committees that are active and are fully engaged in regards to the number of seats and everybody's full, and see if they want to work in that direction, as opposed to just doing a broad stroke.
Yeah. If you have like an optional role, if you have
Yes.
the space, one person be declared.
I mean, what might be good in that too is you pick one or two committees to kind of test drive it and work out the bugs,
Mhm.
then it can be get expanded beyond that,
Yeah. So I think like the next steps would be to kind of going through and seeing which committees are full and meeting regularly. And already have web presence.
Or
Because-
suppose we also define what the role would be.
Yeah, and defining what the role is and everything else too. So we could like take two separate sides on it. So like I can work on looking at the committees and who's full and who, is using their tools with Abby and Melissa. If someone else wants to take on kind of defining this role, and then we can kind of bring the two pieces back together next time we meet.
Okay.
I have a comment.
Yeah.
On that. Just a thought that seeing all committees and needing to track down someone who knows how to do something for meetings in all of them. The committees that have a town employee affiliated or on them are really the ones that are on it, know how to use the meeting, all of that. So I kind of almost wonder if there could be a liaison not on the committees to talk to the committees.
I mean, like Board of Health, for example, they've got,
They're here during the day. Like, she prepares for the meetings. Same with Conservation Commission, same with Planning Board.
Board of Censors.
Yeah.
Mm.
They run very well because somebody's there during the day to do the training.
So you're proposing that we, sorry, what do you mean by having like a liaison?
Just a thought. Like, rather than asking them to give us a person, we kind of give them a person.
Gotcha.
Not onto the committee, probably not. But like to have talks with them, I don't know.
So they're town employees on the conservation, and so you're suggesting that one of those employees might become that person to the committee?
Yeah, I guess I was only thinking about committees that don't have a town employee on them. Because the
Oh.
ones that don't have a town employee on them, it's kind of what's happening now, it's kind of a stretch.
But
The most active committees are the ones who have a town employee.
But the only liaison assigned to those committees right now are on the select board.
With the word liaison. No, I mean the staff members who are present.
Okay, all right.
So there's like an ex officio or something like that.
Exactly, exactly.
Right. My only fear with that is that, like, I mean, that's what the AI conversation comes from, is that the town employees don't have enough time themselves. So I don't know, if, like, that's, so the idea of having the digital person in my mind, and I'm not like opposed to that either. It's just that it's, you know, you have these people who are stepping forward to do this thing and to help out, and just adding that, like, you're bringing them to us, right, with this extra role.
And it would be outside their normal job hours, wouldn't
A lot of them would be.
it? So would that be overtime? Or
Yeah, it's your
volunteer?
town employee probably couldn't do it, because you have to go through HR. Because they have a job description, they have to stay with that job description.
True.
You can't ask them to do something outside of that school.
Right.
maybe we start with, from a task point of view versus saying, okay, we're gonna create this digital role. I mean, to me, the thing that needs to be done right away is minutes. Minutes need to be done in a more consistent, standardized way, not written and scanned and given to Terry, all that sort of stuff, which is happening on. So maybe we start with tasks that need to be fixed.
I mean, coming up with a standard format for minutes? Is that what you're-
Standard formats, you don't write it, print it, scan it, you know, you export it as a PDF, that sort of thing, you know? And maybe that would be the start of this. And we kind of, in an easy way, start to build up to a digital role, which is jumping right in on that part of it, which may be problematic, you know?
Well, that's fair. Every committee has to submit minutes by law.
Well,
I feel like that could be easily solved by.
I'm gonna say Terry has us using a standard, what is it, agenda?
Yeah, exactly. Like she put that out, and now every committee has to submit a standard agenda.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it be the same thing for minutes?
I agree.
Terry just says, here's the standard format for minutes, follow it.
I
Has
mean,
that been working?
This,
Okay.
they,
People have been doing it?
they rejected it, it's not,
If you're-
Oh, they, awesome.
I'm sorry, not in the right format.
yeah.
I know they've been enforcing it.
And
I think that'd be great. Now, if I'm not mistaken, there's a function on Civic Plus for minutes, right? Isn't there? Where you input your minutes? And then
There's-
I think it's just, yes, like, well, I think we would run into the same thing, because I think it's a standard word, or easy way where you could put them in any way you want. I mean, it's not hand typed or handwritten.
Yeah, so you can upload within each committee, and when the meetings are booked, you can upload your documents in that end. So that way, like, if someone was on the committee and was like looking at our meeting for today and they open the link, you'd be able to click on the agenda without having to back out and go to the agenda center.
Right.
And the same thing happens for the minute. So if you were on the meeting for today's meeting, and it's, 3 months from now, you could click and see the agenda and see the approved minutes within that meeting block. And it's been suggested that the clerk's office use that tool so people don't have to back out of it. But there's been a little bit of resistance there.
So as far as minutes, I feel like that's an issue with, yeah, I know, I blew up. Yeah, so I think as far as minutes go, I think that's an issue with the clerk's office and a different thing, but I would like to see somebody who's like in charge of like the website for each committee, things like that.
But what do you think they would put on the websites? Like there's, or like we would develop guidance for how and when to update websites. Like we don't really update our website page that much.
We haven't had to very much, but we do.
A lot of it's static.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying in a bad way. A lot of it's like information that stays.
Yeah. So yes, and on the website there is a lot that stays, but I mean, like, you know, somebody has to go through and, you know, update committee members.
Right. I see what you mean.
So the committee members, we
Which might
discussed
change,
that.
right?
So we don't want members of the committee to update their committee members on the website for fear that they're not actually going to tell the powers that be that committee people have changed and there's a different clerk now or something like that. They'll be like, oh, I took care of it on my page, I'm all set. So
that's changing as well.
yeah, so Abby's been trained on how to update the committee pages. And she actually went and she created a staff page for every single volunteer on every committee. And then she correctly populated all the committee pages with who all are on each committee.
Well, that's awesome.
Yes, and so she's maintaining that list as people come on and off committees, and she's doing that on the website too already.
Well, given that there aren't, I think most committees are like us, they're pretty static. There's not a lot of changes that happen on it. Maybe it'd be enough that Abby was kind of that role of, you know, I'm just picking one, planning board needed to update something on it, and they didn't know how. Abby, can you update this paragraph, something like that? You know, and I'm thinking as long as it's not extensive, you know, it hopefully wouldn't be too big a burden for her to kind of play that role for all the committees.
And it very well maybe, her job description, at least the way I read it, is a little loose as to how much we can give her for working on the website and stuff like that. So I think if we brought it to Steve and asked if he felt it fell within her scope, then that could certainly happen.
It sounds like this is being a role that's chipped away little by little, so it might not need to be a thing.
But coming up with a standard minute format sounds like it's one we should be looking into.
Yeah, as a side to that role, yeah.
Well, again, should we be doing that or Terry?
Well, we should talk to Terry and ask if she says, no, come up with one and I'll approve it. You know.
I guess she doesn't know that the committee feels that we need one if someone on the communications committee doesn't speak to her about it.
Yeah.
So I
So we
guess
should
who
reach out to her.
wants to volunteer to do that?
I'll talk to her.
Thanks.
I'll be glad to throw some sort of
Okay. Anything else? We move on to the next one?
And I think as part of that too, just, Kate, part of whatever the rationale can be, it has to be standardized for the ADA requirements.
Absolutely, it absolutely has to be.
So that could be the big
It could be the
reason
carrot.
for,
It could be the carrot.
you know.
Yeah, the same way the agendas have to be standardized. Like, I don't know her motive behind standardizing them, but they had to be standardized for ADA compliance anyway, so.
Okay, let's move forward. Mark, you passed out a document while we're
That wasn't it.
That's not
there.
common.
We're down to gateway signage. Should we jump to that quick?
We could.
All right, let's do it. I'm curious about.
I feel like this is something fun.
Yeah.
Okay, this is fun stuff. So you received my email of last week. And in that email, what I was saying was that the corridor, the entrance to the town, is in pretty rough shape. And there are two signs in particular that I was calling out. And the first one was our welcome sign, which you really can't see. I hope you looked at the graphics. You really can't see the sign. It's too far back. It's not angled properly. And of course, it's falling apart. So that's our gateway sign at present. You continue down the road south, you come upon I'm just calling it commercial signage here. It sits in the corridor, the
It's in the telephone right away.
telephone. I thought it was electric power.
Electric power right
Yeah,
away. Yeah.
It's in that right of way, and if you've seen it going by, you know that it's a technical shape, right? So
So what does that mean? It's in the
Yeah.
electric, so I understand, I know what an electric right of way is,
Yeah.
but does it mean that they've secured approval from National Grid to put it there? Or is it just like this sign that's kind of like grown up over time, even though it's not supposed to be there?
yeah, we don't know the answer to
Okay.
that. I haven't given that much attention yet.
Okay.
All right. So anyway,
We've identified, we haven't done a whole lot of research. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So anyway, we have this idea. Lou and I have this idea. I'll just wait till you.
There we go.
Yeah, thank you. So we have this idea to try to replace our gateway sign, which is the first one that I talked about here. And, you know, like anything in any organization, we thought this would really be tough. It turns out that so far it hasn't been so tough. So we've made a lot of progress. And you read my progress report that I sent out, but I want to give you an updated progress report because we've made even more progress. And first I want to say that Linda LeDuc has been unbelievably helpful. She's been just terrific. And we have a lot of questions about what kind of site plan do we have to put together? What kind of permitting do we have to do? And she has researched this very conscientiously, and she got back to me yesterday. So I want to share with you what is her update and then my responses. So first, we weren't sure. And by the way, why don't you reference this budget as we speak, because most of these items are referenced here. I'm going to go right to the bottom of this budget. It looks like we have a $6,500 project. It's not going to be anywhere near that, but this was all in. And Linda, and the conversation that Linda and I had significantly reduces the cost. And I'll go through that. So first, Linda was unsure whether or not we needed an architectural design and layout. Now, I have included that as a $1,000 item on our budget. It's not clear whether we do or don't. It will depend, I think, on what state DOT says. And even if we do need it, that's something that I can provide. So that's $1,000 off this $6,000 budget right away. She has confirmed that the land we're talking about belongs to the state DOT. That's kind of a good thing and not a good thing, depending on what we're talking about. But anyway, it's state DOT land, so it has to be permitted, and we have to get that permit. It turns out that a state permit was never issued for the sign. It was based on verbal approval. This is probably 20, 30 years ago. And somebody remembered it at DOT. So, terrific. So it's verbal approval, which these days may not count for too much. So what Linda has offered to do is she will apply for our gateway sign permit electronically when we're ready, and we will have something on paper. Next item, Linda doesn't believe that we'll need an engineering site plan. That is a huge relief. A site plan like this could be $1,000, it could be $3,000 or more. So her view is we probably won't need it, and I hope we won't, but that takes off another $1,000 from this $6,500 project. So far we're down $2,000.
We're halfway there.
We are. I think we may need a simple non-engineered site plan. And again, I can do that if an architectural rendering is not required. And I think, as all of you know, the existing sign is not positioned correctly. It needs to be recited, needs to be tilted slightly, and as a result, they may ask us for an engineered plan. Even so, I think it could do that. And here's great news. So Linda said to me that Belchertown DPW can handle the installation. Now, the cost of installation for a private contractor would be as much as having the sign fabricated. It'd be $3,000 to $5,000. We don't have to worry about that. So thank you, Linda. Linda reports, however, that DPW does not want to be responsible for sign maintenance or vegetation trimming. Now, that's an important point because that's what got us in trouble to begin with. You look at the sign, it's completely overgrown with all kinds of things, brush, vines, etc. There's a huge locust growing over it. All of that has to be cut away. So Linda and I have to have a discussion about that. And that's to be done. Altogether then, that removes at least $2,000. In terms of fabrication of a sign, I have in here an amount of $3,660, but that was for a sign of 6 by 4 feet. I think that's what we're going to need, but it's a 5-color sign. And the reason that I took 5 colors was because when the sign committee chose a sign, it's 5 colors. That's the most expensive sign you can buy. Typically, a town welcoming sign, a gateway sign, is 2 colors. So I mocked both. I mocked 5-color signs and I mocked 2-color signs. And I think we should be talking about 2-color signs, not only because of the cost, but if you go past a 5-color sign at 50 miles an hour, it's not going to make any difference. You're not going to be able to distinguish those individual colors.
So Mark, your last sign there, is that the one, yeah, is that a?
That's a 5
That's a 5-color
That's
sign.
a 5, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
And the others are all 2.
No, you have another one that's 5-color.
Yes, I have 3.
Yeah.
3 that are 5-color, and the others are 2.
Because that's a sign I like.
So the point is that this high-density urethane engraved text sign, probably what we would order. The cost appears to be in the neighborhood of $3,000 to $3,500. I think that cost is going to come way down by 10 to 20% if we go from 5 colors to 2. So that makes the project really reasonable. At the end, under contingency, I have 10% here. I'm going to keep it in there, but I hope we won't need it. If you take away all of those things that I mentioned, you're at $3,000. And the good news is we already have $2,000 pledged. So this is going to go.
So I have good news and bad news for you.
Okay.
Which do you want first?
I don't know. Depends how good and how bad.
They're both actually good news. So, Steve and I did chat about this. We looked at the mock-ups and everything, kind of prepping for this meeting. I've had conversations with Maud about this. First of all, Steve thinks this is the perfect thing to go for a CPC grant for.
Yes.
Absolutely, go for the CPC grant. Get it funded that way. But also, we like it so much that, and consistency is good and it's huge for branding. So if we do one, we have to do them all. So there's the bad news. So it's not just one sign, it's 5 or 6 signs.
You mean for every highway coming into town?
Yes, every highway coming into town.
Okay.
There's also some pretty desperate sign needs over in the Freedom Center. I remember on Everton, Sunderland, and they were doing a rebrand. Signs were a big part of it.
Yeah, signs are definitely a big part of it. So that's the bad news. Like, so if we're gonna do one, let's do them all.
So
And that maybe, like, at that point, is it, like, if we go with a 5-color sign, which I personally think we should because it really reinforces our branding, does it make sense to have the sign company, and because of the number of signs we'd have to build, it'll have to go for bid, but does it make sense to have them make all of them at once and we install them as we can? Kind of thing, like go for as much money as you can, because it has to get, they have to vote on it at a town meeting too.
Well, that was one of my questions.
Yeah, so if you get the CPC, then, they bring the CPC grants to town meeting and CPC says, we want to give this much money to so-and-so, and then the town has to say, yes, go ahead and give it to them.
at a CPC meeting, we voted unanimously in favor of this.
Yes.
And the town usually goes, yay.
Yeah, because everybody likes spending CPC money.
What is the next one?
But I mean, if we could do 5 signs, that's 20 grand, which is not an unreasonable amount.
No, not for a CPC grant,
At
no.
all. So I think it's a great idea.
They're accepting applications now.
Yes, they are accepting applications now for, I want to say, November 1.
This would have to go in front of the select board, no?
Yes.
for approval.
That was another question I had. Does it have to
The
go?
wayfinding committee, however, he has a sign that was presented to the select board, so they should mirror that design, so.
I was gonna
think with
say,
the
we
branding
wanna-
committee, they already have developed a sign, if that makes sense, so take both designs and we wouldn't wanna have 5 different
I'm
styles.
gonna
Yeah.
say, that's why I mocked it the way I
So
did.
you'd have to, I think there's more planning that has to happen before we go for the select board. You have to
Well,
give
I'm
the
gonna say-
wayfinding committee and branding committee to get a sign that matches what they.
So the branding committee wouldn't be in charge of this. The branding committee's charge was simply to develop a logo.
Yeah, signage is outside of.
Who did the,
Yeah.
who did the signage though, that presented?
The signage was wayfinding.
So wayfinding, so I would give us wayfinding next and match that sign with the wayfinding sign that was already adopted, kind of.
As far as I know, there is no wayfinding committee.
Yeah, there is no technical wayfinding committee, it's just
As
people
far as I
that,
know, Maud is no longer on, she's on.
mine is like another 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, so that's where we are on wayfinding.
Guess who's probably gonna falter?
Branding.
No, it would go to communications, because it's far outside of branding's charge. Branding was supposed to be a temporary committee in order to get the seal and the logo and the guidelines done.
Well, I mean, it's going to go to somebody.
Somebody,
It's gonna go to somebody.
they should all match, that's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Well, and I'm gonna say, all the signs that have the logo on them do fall within the matching signage developed by the wayfinding committee.
But you're talking about the one that has that circular.
Yeah, the little logo, yeah.
So those are the most expensive,
They are, but those.
20% more.
But those are the ones that fall within the guidelines of the wayfinding committee. If we're doing the wayfinding logo, you're already automatically in the 5-color thing.
But I also think too, if the select board's voting on it, and the select board likes to have options, as I learned with business cards, is you bring them a design that thoroughly matches the wayfinding signs, 5-color with the logo, and then you bring them the less expensive option. Obviously, the colors would have to match the logo color, so like we wouldn't do the maroon again, we'd have to look at the orange or the blue or the green or something. And we present them with 2 choices, and we let the select board pick on which one.
Could you do the logo in a monochrome color?
So we can do the logo in an all white and all black. We can do it in different monochrome colors. There's a lot of different things we can do.
I would say, no, I mean, this is the place to not do that in my mind.
No, absolutely not. I feel like that really pops there.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think number 8 is the winner for me. But anyways,
It's 7, but,
Okay, so all I need is to
7,
know what to
okay.
do next.
Get some money.
The money we can get even if we don't get that grant.
Yeah.
Or that close,
Yes, for that
For
one.
side.
for
But
the
it's-
one.
Yeah,
if Mark and I put a CPC grant together, our request together, then what do we, if they approve the money, we don't necessarily have to spend it. If we can't get the rest of approvals, we can just return it to CPC. Yes?
I think to get the grant, you'd wanna have
Get that
the
approval.
the approval
Yeah,
to
you
show
have
that
the
it's
approval.
supported.
So,
Yeah.
so I would say that the next steps would be to firm up designs and mock-ups, like, because I can tell the logo is in a circle there, it's supposed to be a circle that looks a little stretched. So we'd want to make sure what we present the select board is true to form and really in line. Like that one's a circle that gets kind of stretched as we go across.
more oval.
Yeah, more oval.
well, it sounds to me like you have the financial plan ready and that the designs are already set from the wayfinding. So we just need to take those designs, put them to your plan, and then present them as either the one sign or all the signs.
Yeah.
And find out what it would cost to, you said 5 of them?
That was a guess, like someone's gonna have to, I don't know how many
Well,
entrances
so I
in
guess
town
that's a
we
question
have.
for the DPW
Yeah,
or
So
Steve.
5 times 4 is 20 is what we're coming up with here with that.
But keep in mind too, this
Yeah.
price was not for the 5-color signs, right?
It is for
This
this.
is-
it is for the 5-color.
For the 5-color?
Yeah, there's a little note that says we can subtract 1,000 and 1,500.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So I've got
So I-
202, 116, 9, and then what's going over to Granby, that's 202 again. 1, 2, 3,
Don't
4.
forget Bondsville.
181.
Yeah,
So that's the 5.
I imagine there's probably more.
Yeah,
Well, but we're talking major, you know,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
you wouldn't do the side streets and
Yeah.
stuff like
No, no,
that.
no,
so-
yeah, yeah.
Well,
Well,
you
so-
know, so one for town hall, I guess if we did it, it would be nice if you're gonna.
So I would suggest next steps are getting a final
Is there one
wayfinding
out there
design
now?
from
But
Bob.
it doesn't
Which
match.
if you don't have your email,
Yeah.
it's like,
If we're we're trying to match everything, you gotta match all the signs in town.
talked to her.
You have to talk to them.
We have talked
We're
to
just throwing it
her.
out there.
Yeah.
She was not enthusiastic about this
Mark.
project.
Yeah, I think there are about five roads, I'm looking at the map.
Well, 2 weeks won't matter.
And so,
Mark, did you hear that John would love to have one out in front of town hall sometime?
Yeah, the whole goal is to match all the signs in town, so like police, fire, sheriff, not all, but something, that was the goal of the wayfinding committee.
So there isn't one out there.
because voice is completely
Six.
Everyone, they used to be the old wooden sign that a guy from the post office, I forget his name, made all those signs.
Yeah.
I'm passing on
I
information.
think Pete Gillespie donated a lot of those way back when, back in the early 2000s.
I think that's what Steve told me too.
I remember
yeah.
hanging those up when I was a kid.
Well, so we need to get the final designs from wayfinding. We need to find
Well, when you find out
For
it doesn't
sure.
exist.
We need to get final designs for Maud.
final sign design for mod. Get I said confirmation that it is 5 signs or 6.
Six, I think it's
The
six.
town hall is
Looking
included,
at the map here, I think it's six.
and then
21.
write a proposal for
Hmm.
1 or 6. And I think that would be the next steps in my mind.
Yeah, I think so. So do you want me to reach out to Maud and deal with that piece of it for you?
Yes.
I don't know, let me think about it. Okay, and what about installation? Was that included?
Uh-oh, something happened.
Or just stop share, just stop and share.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah,
Well,
and then
I believe the thought was that DPW would do it at their convenience, so one at a time, not all 6 at one. I thought.
Yeah,
And they would all presumably be different sizes.
No,
Right.
no. I
Wow.
think they'd all
You
be the
don't
same.
think so?
Yeah.
Standardized.
One size.
Because on a highway where the speed limit is, say, 50 or 45,
Yeah.
you're gonna have a larger sign than, for example, the road that leads to town that's not a highway. You might have the same sign at 202.
Well, you're gonna put these at the, she put these at the,
Okay, for expediency's sake, I think maybe table this to, these are the weeds
Yeah.
that we're getting into.
Well, I have weedy questions, because I wanted to get going.
Right, but I mean, I'm just thinking time-wise, consuming.
I think, if you go back to the old red and great gold signs, they were all the same signs across the town. At 21, there was one, there's one at Route 9, there's one at 202, they're all the same size.
and let's be honest, it doesn't matter, it's Belchertown, they're all gonna do 90 through every intersection.
headlining all of it, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely okay with it, and I want to make sure that it can also be transferable to somebody else who is okay with it, so it isn't a huge burden. We have all those, like.
Wasn't the idea that somewhere down the line, this was gonna become somebody else's baby?
If anybody wants a baby,
No,
sure.
no, I thought we were looking at turning this into something that happened within the town.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I think a big part of that too is the town doesn't have the capacity to take it on at this point.
Yeah.
Speaking from my position, like just having Emily step away and not be able to handle the stuff for rec in regards to their images that they need and posting on social media and everything for them, like, holy cow, like she's gone and I'm like really sad. And, you know, the plan is to get Abby trained up, but, you know, we've hit a couple roadblocks and, you know, I was out for a bit, she's on vacation for a bit. Like, we're gonna get there, but like, if Allegra, like, you know, just got up tomorrow morning and was like, I'm moving to Wyoming, that's it, I'm done. Like.
There's no more lose letter, huh?
There's no capacity to pick it
Well,
up.
and that's the point we've been making all along, is not being so dependent on volunteers. And yes, this is where you can get things jump-started, but eventually it has to transition to an employee at some point in time.
Right.
It has to.
And I think the number of reports and things and just information to get out to the public that we're receiving from all of the departments and the committees and non-town associated group that are also putting stuff in is just a further sign that like there's this absolute need for communication to get out there and that this is working.
Yeah.
And that this is really good and it needs that bigger support. Right? This cannot be a full volunteer effort every month to get this out. So
I mean, with Emily leaving, I think that's an opportunity to make that point. That, you know, just like Kyle's learning, you're like, oh, damn, you know, how do I do all this sort of stuff and things like that? You know, if Allegra did leave tomorrow, again, it gives more justification for your position going full time and things like that by doing that.
So, looking
How
forward.
many subscribers do you
I think it's about 450.
Yeah, it's right about 450.
have? Okay.
I am looking forward to helping out with this. You go on.
Okay.
But man, it is.
Data, you should pull this data, like I spend 5 hours a week on this, so I send 400 emails, that's the stuff that you would present to the select board and send in for budget season, that would help hopefully justify a position.
Actually,
But now having the data, I can say, oh yeah, we can't argue the fight.
this came up at our last meeting, and Emily and I, the last newsletter we worked on together, we were looking at our hours. So, and I write down my hours for projects, so I'll keep track and.
And didn't that come up like way months ago? Like, didn't we have a conversation like before we kind of went on like a little meeting hiatus about tracking the amount of volunteer hours that this committee was putting in? Like, that was a conversation at one point, I feel like we had. Maybe that needs to come back onto the agenda in the future.
Okay, let's move on unless there's anything else. Newsletter? Belchertown.org? I don't have anything.
So we have a new person at Civic Plus again. It's like the 5th person in 2025. They're supposed to be updating our website to match the current branding. Really hard to get a hold of people over there. We need to have a conversation because, you know, they quoted us one thing and then I came back and was like, you know, we also need to fix these other things. And they're like, oh, that's gonna cost more money. And I was like, well, then take care of the things that we've approved already. And he's like, well, I don't understand what's going on because I'm the new person. So it's essentially starting over again with updating the website to match the new branding with the new person. So that is kind of like tops on my list to do with that. And then from there, I've got to put up the other changes that we've talked about, such as like, you know, the enhanced calendar and making certain things easier to use on the website and you know, tightening up some of the spaces. Like, there's not a lot you can do without them wanting to quote you something. So that'll be a quote to get together and something to keep in mind when you know the next budget cycle comes up. But yeah, definitely still working on getting the new brand on the website. That's totally a goal. That's all I have.
Well, that's good months, hasn't it?
Speaking of branding, branding committee updates. So logos resolved, that's something. Let's move on, wayfinding, which is now done as well. The issue now is the town seal and digitizing the town seal. Where it stands is, so the designer that we had to work on this gave many iterations to the town clerk. The town clerk didn't like any of them, kept giving kind of like multi-directional feedback each time. So, every iteration was not like a improvement of the last, but it was like no, do it this way instead, and no, do it this way instead. So we have a lot of different variants. There are a lot of different art styles. While, the number one rule was that it had to remain form factor to that original design, to the original seal, the physical one. Now that our design contract is done and she's no longer with us, the board has decided that we are allowed to do, we don't have to sit behind the style that is originally there, and that we could do more of a folk art style, such as the way that Wayland, Mass did theirs, where
Do you have mock-ups for us?
sort of here was the original, and I could pass this around afterwards.
That's
where,
Wayland, right?
yeah, this is sort of the original, and then here was the new version where you could see, the shading is done with like triangles. And like the leaves are full all the way around. There's a little bit more detail, although a little less detail, right? So things are, like, I would not say that this is an exact mock-up of this.
But when you look at it, you see the similarity with that.
But you see the similarities, right? So the new understanding is that that's how we should handle, and I can send these around to anybody who wants to look at them. That's how we should handle it. So we don't have a designer though, so it was taken upon myself and Kate and Ed Knight to all sort of see what we could do to make more of a folk art version of the town sign. Driven because we don't have a budget anymore, and we didn't want to take any town money to do this, which is something that we promised in the early side of things, that we would not use any money and not change the look of the town seal. So now we're sort of like backtracking on that a little bit, but first seeing if volunteers can do it. I've put in what time I can, and I'm not at a point where I think that my design is any good and worth really presenting. And I don't know how much more time. It was one of those things where I was like, I'll put in like 4 hours and see where I'm at. I'm at like 10 hours, and I'm like, this isn't getting anywhere. Kate, I know you've put in some work with it.
Yeah, I've done about 20 hours of work with it.
Right.
I can send Ed, you're controlling the screen, right? Who's controlling it? Do you have my version, Chris, that I sent to Maud and everybody?
I can pull it up, but we could also just share it later too.
Yeah.
So guys, I don't want to sit on this for too long. So where we're at is we're finally meeting again. We've had the same problem with the branding committee as the communication committee. We're finding time for everybody to get together. We're meeting next week, although I won't be there. And we're going to sort of decide what the next move is. The town clerk wants us to go through an organization that she's found that did the Wayland one and have them do it and pay for it. We still don't have a quote on how much that's going to cost, or as far as I know, we don't have a quote.
I don't know either.
There's an assumption that it's around $5,000 because that's what Wayland was charged. But we don't know.
Was Wayland's done recently?
I can't.
It was done this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where we're at. Is logo's done. The digitization is going to take a little more time, and we might have to find money somewhere to do it.
Just quick, is this going to be in color or black and white?
Black and white.
Black and white.
Yes.
It's a great use of CPC funds.
Again, yeah, that's one of the suggestions that was made to CPC.
The faster we get this done, CPC obviously is coming up, so we can submit that and hopefully approve it to select board and get the process moving.
Right. So it's one of those things that does need to happen like sooner than later. There's a lot of stuff that's sort of being held up because of it, like the business cards for the town and things like that.
Yeah, and that's just a small part of finishing the branding for the town. Like, we
Right.
can't finish the branding and the look and the style and set policies as to where we use, logo versus seal and yada, yada, yada.
Even the
without-
agenda templates will have to all be updated.
Yeah.
And you said 1 November is the deadline for CPC grants?
I think it's, November 1st, I think.
I think it's a little later. I think it's the second Friday, so I think it's the 13th this year, but look it up.
Well, we're
It
six,
was right in the session when I was reading it
so we're
right before
essentially
it came over.
six weeks away then. is what
Yeah, but this is a concern for that committee. So I don't want to hold up too much more time on this one, but that's where we're at. It's just it's dragging on.
So I did one in AI a few months ago.
Okay.
Yeah, cut in color. It's quite nice.
Did it follow the same scheme and everything?
Yeah, I mean, it had water and mountains and and a carriage because I asked it to put in a carriage. It was nice.
So we want to have the folk art style. It has to stay the same. The church, the stone house,
Oh, it doesn't have to
carriage,
stay
whatever,
there.
all of that stuff.
It doesn't stay.
That is yes.
Block tower.
What's that? That's
Block
right.
tower.
Yeah.
Of course, next year I brag you on that. Block tower, not a church.
So all of that symbolism has to remain where it is. But just like the Wayland one, where there's like heavy shading on the individual standing there, it's more of a jagged triangle shading. So that could be done. But like, yeah. So we'll see where that one ends up with the meeting next week.
Speaking of
November 14th.
TV video of that inside.
What's that?
November
Yes.
14th.
Everyone
Might
No CPC.
So, someone's gonna wanna reach out to Charlie then, because Charlie said the deadline was November 7th. In their article
No,
that
it's
they
November
published.
5, okay, by the legislature.
No, it's always the second Friday.
That's what I thought.
So
Either
actually,
way, this is a problem for the branding committee and not this committee. So
Correct.
we're gonna move on to wayfinding updates, which we hear should not be anything because they're gone.
There is none. Yeah, it's gone. We did whatever we were supposed to do, and Maud's contract has been extended, and she's gone in 2 or 3 weeks, I'm being told. And that's it.
Excellent. Well, great work, you guys.
Congratulations.
We have a logo, or whatever you want to call it.
Signs.
Signage, yeah. The being able to disband the committee, like to be able to say you did it, right, and now we're done and it's gone, right? Like I wonder how many other committees we have so many committees in town, and I realize that there's some like communication that should just continue. But like, it must be nice to have a committee where you just say, "Great, done."
wait, are the signs up? They're not up?
Technically,
No.
Oh, okay. I didn't.
But like all the legwork's been done.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's money.
Yes, okay.
Okay. So this next one, Kate, you asked me to put it in here.
I did.
Statement from the Communications Committee officially requesting the selection of policy around third-party information to be shared on the town's website and Facebook feed.
You mean like the fair?
So, this has come up because one of the original charges for the committee from way back when, the Communications Committee, was getting town events onto our website. So utilizing the events calendar on our website, which we are doing. So we have a form created, people fill out the form, we put the event on our website, then, we put it on Facebook, we share it to BCTV, it goes out on, the cultural councils and creative economy, they share it, it goes to all the places. But there's no policy about what events we can share and can't share. So there's been like some pushback, like, can we share this event because it's at a private location? So like, when we first started talking about this, like, the Shattuck Sugar Fest, do we share that because it's a private event? They're not a nonprofit, or do we only limit it to sharing nonprofits? What about if they're serving alcohol? Is it okay to share it if we serve alcohol or not? What happens if, somebody comes through and they're a nonprofit and, their mission is not good for humanity in general. Right, like you can have nonprofits
It's the
that,
organization.
but you can have a nonprofit whose goal is to, to only have, white males running government. Like that could be that nonprofit. Do you share their event? Where do you draw the line? Do you share every nonprofit's event? Do you only share some events? Do you share private events? And there's a lot of gray area. And putting these things together, it doesn't feel like this is a decision that should be being made by, myself if I'm putting them up there, or Abby if she's putting them up there, a decision between the two of us. We really need some guidelines from the select board, because they're the ones that said, put these events out there, but they never said what those events could be.
Put these white guys out there, yeah.
So that is, the request is that the communications committee goes back to the select board, because it was the communications committee that was charged with putting events on the calendar, and ask the select board to set a policy around what third-party events we're willing to share.
So my first thought is the First Amendment, freedom of speech. And I don't know if that applies in this instance or not, but we've been hearing a lot about it lately. So I don't know if are you allowed to restrict public speech, and is public speech
You can't do for one and not for all. That's a big discussion. There's where.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why we want the communications committee to put something together to get onto the select board's agenda to ask them to set this policy. How do we know can we share private events, or does it have to only be nonprofits?
Susie asked for us to put guidelines together and present it, or to tell them that they need to have
it. It is to request the select board to set a policy.
Okay.
So it's basically to go before the select board, someone from the communications committee, and be like, these are the problems we're having. We need you to set a policy as our governing body to know where we need to
Do
start.
other towns have policies? That would be the other avenue. I know the question will come up.
So I haven't asked anybody if they have a policy. I could certainly ask other towns if they have a policy. Not a lot of people do it to the extent in which we've been tasked to do it. The closest to what we've been doing seems to be Greenfield. And they seem to just share anything. Salt Hadley does share some events, but it's really kind of hit or miss, and they have their calendar set up is a lot different than ours.
When you say share, you mean social media?
To, let the newsletter know in case they want to cover something about it. We let BCTV know, so in case they want to go and send a reporter there to cover the event, right? Or, then, it goes on the calendar that Stahl puts together weekly based on what's happening around town that she shares on social.
Here's a good example of one on the site now. Grief Loss Support Group, which when I was just first looking at the headline, said, okay, it sounds very laudable, things like that. It's somebody from a private company, and it's sponsored by Beers and Stories. Now, I'm certainly not opposed to this, but also that's one of those things, okay, is this appropriate or not?
And that came from the senior center.
Yeah, it's being held at the senior center.
Exactly. And it came from the senior center, so the senior center sends us their calendar, and we put their calendar together. And, or not put their calendar together, share their calendar out on our events calendar.
That's like another one is office hours by Senator O'Barrett. Well, that sounds like a very laudable thing too, but again, it's not a Belchertown function, Where do we draw the line?
I'm going to say, certainly when I was doing slides for BCTV, we would run things like that without blinking an eye.
Right, exactly. That's the thing, I think it's appropriate to have that on.
I'm trying to stay out of the discussion, sorry. This is a great topic for the select board to bring up, and I recommend that you do that.
But now I can also imagine the select board's going to bounce it back to us, right?
If you're lucky.
I think if you had like was that like, here's a policy from Greenfield, there's a policy, or there's no other town that has one. This is a great idea for the select board to start. It's not gonna be solved in one meeting, but it'll get us thinking of ideas.
Okay. So
So I can
we should have a vote.
solicit for those, and you guys should vote. What do you wanna do?
So
Recommendations you recommend too, send some of your recommendations at the same time, is my thought.
yeah, so let's this is just introduced tonight. So it will require a vote if we were to officially request as a committee, we need to vote on it. This census is being introduced tonight, I think we all need to have some time to think about it. Let's bring this up the next meeting, with whatever, that stuff we find, whether there are other towns doing these things
Okay.
or not. If there's anybody that wants to help Kate in this, please jump on that.
I will.
And then we'll go from there, and maybe at the next meeting, we will vote.
We have a team.
And then we'll go from there.
Perfect.
Great idea.
Great idea, okay, get to the end. BCTV manager update.
Okay, we're gonna try to keep this short, but it's been a few meetings, so
It
there's
has,
a lot
yeah.
of updates. Okay, so the fair just happened, so we had a number of videos going out for that one. The tri-board meetings and the Hampshire Group Insurance Trust has been drawing a lot of attention. And the last tri-board where we did the push to talk mics went really well. I personally am getting better at dealing with the room acoustics. At the same time, the select board is wanting to make some updates to the technology in the meeting rooms, which is awesome. So I've been working with Kevin about what we're gonna submit for capital requests. And one of the things that I am pushing for is, so there's a couple. Okay, so Jen emailed me because she was at a UMass breakfast in the student union, which is like a room that should be a nightmare because it's all wood and it's wood floor, it's tall ceilings, and it wasn't because of the way they had it set up. So I found out the company that did that and reached out to them, had an initial talk with them, and they are the acoustic experts that I think would be a long-term good investment to have some assessments done. Kevin and I think are gonna make some good technology choices, but having measurements in the room is something that would stay the same and last for a really long time.
Are you saying you want to have acousticians come in and measure the room for the,
Yeah.
okay,
Yep, so they've made a proposal for that. Kevin and I need to discuss that.
okay.
So that's that. We got, our intern Donald's, my first intern, has concluded. That's great. And he wants to stay on as a volunteer, which we love. And so yeah, loved working with Easter Seals. Hope she sends more our way. That was a great collab. There's doing more things with trying to make the streaming on Facebook and YouTube happen automatically without someone having to sit by it every time that we do it. Happy to say tonight, so we're success with ours. So excited about that.
So you streamed the go-to meeting tonight?
Yes, right now.
All right.
Facebook Live and
And as we
We're
speak,
currently live on Facebook.
we're live.
Gives me the chills.
Yeah, and I will add, with the Hampshire Group Insurance Trust, it was surprising to see that the redundancy of the school committee having their own virtual meeting at the same time that we had ours was quite useful because theirs would miss some stuff. And cut out, sometimes ours would cut out. So having both as an option to participate and a virtual that's outside of that, there's some benefits to it. Okay. Sound upgrades. Looking at YouTube analytics, we covered the community band concerts this summer. That got a lot of traction. So we're gonna keep doing things like that. We offered an animation workshop with no signups. So we're gonna re-gear to do another one, and we're gonna work. We're talking with Cindy with the library about making it like a library sponsored thing at our station.
Smart.
Yeah.
So that's what we'll do next time.
Do you know when that's gonna be yet? Do you have any plans for when you might do that?
Hopefully next month.
Okay.
Hopefully next month.
If you know by the time the newsletter goes out, we can put it there, but
For sure. Yeah.
on the website.
Yep, working on getting us a website, and that's what I got for now, I think.
I think you really have to be proud of the fact that one of your videos got like 149,000 views.
There's that, I was just whispering
What
about it.
video was
It's
that?
silly. There was, Peggy Lou went out to film when they did the old state school smokestack demolition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's got 150,000 views on our YouTube.
Loves it.
That's amazing.
There's like people arguing about like, why did they knock it down that way? Comments. It's like,
But also, Lou, you made like a second version that was like, that could throw back to like 40s cinema or
No,
something.
that was Charlotte, I think. who did
Charlotte.
that.
Oh, that's right.
like,
That's
that's
right,
not
Charlotte does all the, what do you call it, imaginative stuff.
Yeah,
I'm a doctor.
that one got a lot of views too.
Yeah.
Which, and having an intern to do some of the more basic functions has been great because it has time for Charlotte to do more creative stuff. Today, she took the slides from our community bulletin that goes on TV and made formats to do social media shorts, like the lives that you go
Okay.
through. So that's cool.
Anything you need from our committee? Anything we can help you with?
All right. Branding. I'm just wondering about, the budget has run out for branding. We should talk about it, but I'm not sure how we're going to work with the new logo to do a spin-off of it.
Yeah, that's like the whole sub-brand logos.
Yeah.
Like that whole piece has kind of been like shelved as we work through this town seal portion.
Hmm.
Because ideally, each department has their own branded logo.
Yeah.
And some ideas were put together for those and presented within the packet that went to the select board 2 meetings ago that I presented at. But we were so focused on the business cards when we got there that kind of like fell off. So it'll come back around at some point.
Okay. Is another designer gonna get hired to think of these things up? Or like, we don't know yet.
No, that's me.
Oh, okay.
I'll stick my 2 cents in to Charlotte.
Emails
See if Charlotte wants
here.
to work with Kate, so Charlotte's got the imagination.
She really does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just thought,
I mean, there's just the issue of I just don't know what to do with the colors. You know, the brightest color is orange.
But it's also not a bright orange. It's a very subdued. All of our colors are very
it's a
subdued,
burnt
and
sienna.
it's been an issue just working with them in general because they're so subdued.
Mm.
It's hard to like scream something like look here when everything's like I'm chill.
But yeah.
And we've come up with like expanded palette colors, and that was in that branding packet that went to the select board. But again, we didn't even get there at that point. So
That's good to hear though.
yeah, they're
There's
there.
more
We just need
coming
to keep pushing forward on all these fronts.
See, that should have been our town logo. We're chill. You got chill.
It's a good
Our
motto.
motto.
Yeah, the model, yeah.
Chill.
So we have to write that down.
Okay, cool. Any other questions for BCTV? All right, move on. Communication manager updates.
I will try to keep it as short and sweet as yesterday. I can't promise anything. So recently, focus has shifted to training our town staff in regards to using the website and also in regards to creating ADA compliant documents as well as ADA compliant text for the website. So I held a training class. I want to say there was about 10 attendees from different departments in town. where we really went through like how to make a PDF file, how to, make hyperlinks, how to properly format text on the website, keeping all of that ADA compliant. I'm gonna do another one of those in 2 months. My next training cycle that I'm planning now is some basic social media stuff, like talking about the appropriate size images for social media, how you have to put alt text in so that way your social media is ADA compliant. Writing for social media, like how you can't say, read this image and then not put any image text in. So that's gonna be the next training cycle, is addressing the social media aspect. And then after that, it's gonna be another basic training for website use for those that didn't make the first one. So definitely a shift in focus on that. Also working, with Abby and, getting her into the design software, being able to create some of the basic graphics with the templates that have already been set up, some of the tried and true stuff like, the fire department statistics monthly and the daily outcomes as to what town meetings we're having and stuff like that, and getting her on social and posting that stuff. Another project that I'm working on is taking our community plan, and I'm working with Doug on this, is taking our community plan and creating an online matrix tool, if you will. So you'd be able to go, our community plan would be on the website with who the stakeholders are, where it is in the process, if it's a short-term plan, if it's a long-term plan, if there's roadblocks, and you'd be able to go and filter it and be able to see like everything that's already been done, or all the things that we're waiting on money for. And it would be a living, breathing version of our community plan. There's really no one else in the state that's doing this. So it's something that we would be kind of the first of. And another thing, similar to the AI policy, where other towns in the Commonwealth will be able to look to what we're doing for this. So I've worked with Carl, can't remember his last name, who put together the tool on our website, the Bounty of Belchertown, where you can go and see all the different farms and the goods and everything else that they have. And this is also an effort with the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. They're really going through and digging deep and saying, hey, this is where you're missing information, give us this, give us that, to build the data set, if you will. So we need money to make this happen. There's no one's ever done it, so it's not like we can get a tool from Civic Plus, so we have to have it quoted. So I asked Maud to find me some money before she leaves, so that way we can at least, have a grant in place, because we're not gonna be able to tackle this without grant money to get this onto the website. And then Carl has to finish quoting it, so we know how much money we're talking about. Is it $5,000 we're talking about, or is it $15,000? Like, those are clearly two different conversations. But this is really gonna be something that's gonna set us apart, and it's really gonna help with transparency in town about what our different goals and objectives are, and let people see where the money's going and who's in charge of these things, and where we're at with them, and what we've already accomplished and what we still have to accomplish, right? And it'll make it easier too, as they come up with the new community plans, because the master plan gets revitalized every 5 years. They'll be able to have this backbone and see what's already been done in one place, and not have to go track down reports from him and her and them. They have it all together. So that's gonna be huge. We are also working, Doug and I are working with the state and our legal services to put together the required information for our cannabis control. So we have to, every municipality has to have a section on their website dedicated to how they're dealing with cannabis. It was due like probably 2 years ago at this point. We're out of compliance on that. Doug got a lot of great information from legal just recently, and he should be going to the select board very soon and being like, this is what they've told us. The select board has to say yay or nay, and then once we have the official policy from the select board, then it'll go on our website. So then we'll be in compliance in that area as well too. So that's another huge thing. And then I'm just doing like a lot of background work regarding different initiatives going on around town. So we have like a big meeting coming up regarding the town meeting, pre-planning, kind of the postmortem from the last one, a lot of involvement in that, working around communicating with that. The talk about the Boys and Girls Club coming to town too. We had meetings on that, so I've been doing a lot of like surveys for that. putting together the stuff that, Lisa and Lisa and the people over in Ludlow have asked me to put together to disseminate that information as well too. Then there's a lot of little small projects like getting signs up around town where we have our public Wi-Fi that people can use and making sure people are aware of that and stuff like that. So lots of things.
We have public Wi-Fi?
We do.
Where?
We can get it in the parking lot.
Okay.
That's for sure.
Pretty much all through the common loop.
Oh, wow, perfect.
We had that microburst up on Turkey Hill Road in that area, and I had a bunch of work I had to get done, so I sat in the parking lot here, and I did most of it.
I see. You were a mom outside McDonald's during COVID.
Yeah.
So does anybody have any questions for me?
Do we have a location for the special town meetings?
The special town meeting is going to be in the auditorium at the high school.
Okay.
The meeting starts at 6:30.
Okay.
I've sent out.
That simplifies your life a lot.
Well, it does, but you didn't mention the part where if there has to be an overflow room.
What I've heard is, and correct me if I'm wrong, John, but there's no concern about there being overflow this meeting.
We'll be lucky if we get enough parkour.
Yes.
No, we didn't
Well, no.
Yeah, we need four.
Yeah.
You've got 30 with just the people on stage, so, yeah. Anyway,
That's it? You guys are nice.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Anything come up in the last 48 hours that needs to be discussed in the emergency issues? No? Excellent. So topics not reasonably anticipated. Next meeting time. So, as we all know, we had a heck of a time finding a meeting time and making it work and getting everybody's calendars together. When I did those, went to meet calendar invites for the polls to see when people could meet. There was always a time when two people could not attend, two committee members, right? And because of our numbers, if two people can't make it, we can't meet. Or well, we can meet, but nothing can be decided, right?
right.
So it was a thing that it could not be solved via getting everybody's opinion and putting it all together. I'm sort of putting forward, in my opinion, but also proposing it, that we just go back to the old system.
I'm a Thursday fan.
Second Thursday and fourth Thursday of the month, 7 o'clock. I think if we move it forward, we can try moving it forward to 6:30 or something. I think there was some concessions we made when Emily joined to push things back. She's not here anymore, so maybe we can relax those, so that we're not out till 9 o'clock. But otherwise, that's the schedule I'd like to keep.
Would you propose 6:30 for the next Thursday meeting, October the 9th?
Would people rather do 6:30?
I'm ready either way.
Doesn't matter to me.
Okay, let's do 6:30 then.
And that's October 9th?
That will be second Thursday of the month.
Thank you.
And I'll be sending out calendar invites
Thank you.
to everybody as well.
Okay, that's the last thing.
Motion?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone. 8:45, we did it.
All right, that's about.
Thank you.
And thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Get us on track and moving forward.
This conference is no longer being recorded.